From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Saturday, July 25th, 2015. Silver is trading at $14.69 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,099 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $291. Antiwar.com reports visiting Erbil yesterday on his second day in Iraq, U.S. Secretary of Defense Ash Carter praised the Kurdish Peshmerga, the paramilitary force of the Kurdistan Regional Government, as a model for the entire nation and indeed entire region in the war against the Islamic State. Following his meeting with Kurdish President Masoud Barzani, Carter said, "We are trying to build a force throughout the territory of Iraq and someday in Syria that can do what the Peshmerga does. The Peshmerga has had some success in fighting the Islamic State head-on, certainly more than the Iraqi military has. This is likely because they haven't got the enormous morale problems the Iraqi military has struggled with. At the same time, the Peshmerga's ability to consistently beat the Islamic State has likely been overstated, as the two sides often trade territory along their mutual frontier. How the U.S. could even theoretically copy this model elsewhere isn't clear either. The Peshmerga of Iraqi Kurdistan dates back generations and doesn't have analogous factions across the rest of Iraq and Syria. Creating myriad new military forces in the model of them across different cultures and multiple countries is no small ambition, and with the U.S. efforts to create a new faction in Syria yielding no more than a few dozen fighters, it's unclear how they can manage it. ExpressCoin is the best choice for buying Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and more. ExpressCoin prides themselves on their customer service, so much so that the back end on the website should allow them to be even more focused on your needs. Get started at expresscoin.fppradio.com. That's expresscoin.fppradio.com. UPI reports shoplifting in Russia increased 44% in 2014 as a result of sanctions and plunging oil prices, according to data collected by the Federal Tax Service. In 2014, merchandise worth 930 million rubles, about $15.9 million US dollars, was stolen from Russian stores. Goods like premium alcohol, sausage, eggs, coffee, cosmetics, and perfume were among the most shoplifted items. Experts told a Russian newspaper that the actual figures could be much higher, as the reports count only losses reported to police. Most of the shoplifting took place in Moscow. The falling price of oil, combined with sanctions imposed against Russia by the West in connection with the annexation of Crimea, led the ruble to lose 40% of its value against the US dollar in 2014. These factors contributed to the country's current economic crisis. As the ruble weakened, inflation soared, reaching 11.4% last year. Many Russians continue to live below the poverty line, approximately $165 a month. Alexei Kudrin, Russia's former finance minister, recently said the country would not start to recover for another year. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports Fiat Chrysler will recall 1.4 million vehicles in the United States to install software to prevent hackers from gaining remote control over the engine, steering, and other systems in what federal officials said was the first such action of its kind. The announcement on Friday by Fiat Chrysler, FCA, was made days after reports that cybersecurity researchers used a wireless connection to turn off a Jeep Cherokee's engine as it drove, increasing concerns about the safety of internet-enabled vehicles. The researchers used Fiat Chrysler's telematic system to break into a volunteer's Cherokee being driven on the highway and issue commands to the engine, steering, and brakes. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, said on Friday it would investigate whether FCA's solution to upgrade software was enough to protect consumers from hackers, although FCA said in its recall announcement that it was unaware of any injuries. A spokesman for NHTSA said that it was the first recall of vehicles because of concerns about cybersecurity, and experts said they hoped it would send a shock through the auto industry and beyond. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.